living beyond the precedent.
An unknown secret power.
Are we willing to move
That inner voice.
through our discomfort enough
Just because it's always been a certain way
to actually break through that glass ceiling?
doesn't mean that it can't be different. Hello and welcome to episode 73 of Truth Be Told. And so this month we're talking about creativity, and our topic for this week is breaking the glass ceiling. So what does that mean, you may ask? Well, the conversation tonight is really going to be about moving beyond the precedent, stepping into new ways of being willing maybe to step out from old frameworks of limiting beliefs or things that no longer serve us. I don't know about you, but I can get stuck in those times. They're really comfortable and they're cozy sometimes, but there's something within all of us, I think, that is calling us to deeper ways of knowing ourselves, a greater awareness of the world around us, and how we can use this to create a life that we just can't help to wake up in the morning and be excited about living. So tonight is all about being called to step out bravely, step out boldly, breaking the glass ceiling. So sit back and relax and enjoy Truth Be Told.
So far this month, we have looked at saying yes to creativity, that inner creative urge. We have looked at the resistance we meet along the way. And this week, we are looking at the glass ceiling, that which keeps us from getting too far out of our comfort zone. I thought it would be really kind of a fun opportunity to take a look deeper into how this actually plays out. So we start with our comfort zone. Let's call that 0. And moving above our comfort zone is excitement, and anything below our comfort zone is getting into the realm of scary, maybe even fearful. And so in the perspective of Bruce Tuckman's team development, the first step is forming. We form a team, and this usually feels really exciting, and so our energy starts to rise. We are off on this new adventure. Our excitement builds, and we're rising up out of our comfort zone, just maybe a little too far. And so we get to this point where the fear of our own success starts to creep in. It's usually subconscious. We probably don't really know about it. And we enter into the next phase, storming. And this is where that excitement becomes way too much, and we start thinking of all the reasons why maybe we shouldn't do the thing we're trying to do, and the team starts to not work so great together, and we want to go back into that comfort zone, and so we start lessening our excitement so much that we go right on through our comfort zone down into this fearful space of, well, you know, those ideas were really challenging and those goals were really far off, and what if we fail? From this place of scarcity and lack and fear and whatever else is going on while we're down here, the natural way is to kind of turn that around, and we need to get this together. We need to figure out what to do next. And so we enter the next phase of norming. And norming starts moving us, but we get excited again, and we start moving back up to that comfort zone, because we really want to be at that zone of comfort. And so we start moving up, except our excitement keeps going, and the pendulum swings back the other way, and our excitement brings us up above and up and up and up, and now we are back to that place of, whoa, we are so far above our comfort zone. And now we come to a crucial point in our team development, the glass ceiling. This is the place where we are, or have not yet been, willing to go beyond this place of discomfort. We get just this much discomfort. We get just this far above our comfort zone, and we have to turn around. And so we have this up and down and back up motion that continues to hit that glass ceiling. In this stage of norming, we actually reach a crucial point, and it is this point right here. This is the point of decision where we get to decide as a team whether we are going to repeat this same exact pattern, probably over and over and over again, or are we going to do something different? Are we willing to move through our discomfort enough to actually break through that glass ceiling? Are we willing to do the thing we've never done before? Are we willing to reach for the thing we've never reached for before? Are we willing to take that extra step where before maybe we weren't willing, or before maybe the fear of our own greatness got in our way, and so we kept that same pattern? We are at the point of deciding to change the pattern. And so when we do this, we are actually blowing through the glass ceiling. We are breaking the glass ceiling. And now we move from norming into performing. We are breaking the old pattern, and we are now achieving greatness. Congratulations, we made it, hopefully. This model, even if you've never heard of it before, might feel really familiar because we as individuals do the exact same patterns to ourselves. And as creative beings, this plays out on a regular basis. We have developed a comfort zone. And so we form new ideas and we follow this new idea, and it gets really exciting. But have you ever had that moment where that really exciting idea gets to that point where you're like, yeah, but I don't know how to do those other things? Or what about having to actually make this, put it on paper or file documents or whatever it is, that thing where we're like, I don't know about that. That seems kind of scary. And so we start storming. We storm ourselves into this scarcity idea. We convince ourselves out of the goodness of that idea. And then eventually we come around. We don't like being in that zone of fear either. We don't like being in that lack mentality. And so we start kind of norming. We start in this phase of norming our idea back. And we're like, okay, I need to get back to my comfort zone. And we're like, all right, maybe it was scary, but I think it's still a good idea. And so let's go for it. And we come back to our comfort zone, and then we get excited again. And our excitement brings us out into and above our comfort zone. And we too reach this same very point where we either get to repeat the same exact patterns over and over again on this idea and any other idea, where we're this much willing to reach above our comfort zone. Or we can decide we are willing to step out. This time I am intentionally willing to step beyond that place, that threshold of comfort, to break through that glass ceiling and actually move in a new way on this creative idea. Create something that we have never created before. Take the step we have never taken before. And so that is the invitation this week in our creative way of being. We are invited to say yes, to move through the resistance and now step through the glass ceiling out into that place to do that thing that we have never actually done before.
Like, I can relate to all that. Like squiggly arrows and all.
Yeah, oh yeah. The squiggly arrows especially.
I mean, yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I've said yes to the yes. I've made the decision, and yay, I'm so excited. You know, you're bebopping along, you feel great, and then it's like, oh no. Then you hit, whatever is like, oh wait, this is a little bit out of what I've been doing before, and then it's like, okay, maybe I should just pull back, and it really is, and it creates this kind of downward energy, and then it's, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I can feel the energy of that up and down, and I think that for me, it's that kind of, it's like this energy that kind of it's calling me forward, higher and higher and higher.
Yeah,
yeah, I could totally relate to that.
I think we, sometimes like sell our wins short, because like this, like what you were just talking there so much about, like us, like individuals. I think when we start to kind of get to that glass ceiling, that's also like when we kind of like look around and see like what other people are doing, comparing ourselves to others, and then or what are those other people going to think, and if we like gotta let all that go and just for myself, it's a huge win if I can just get myself to go one step past my comfort zone. It doesn't have to be, compared to anybody else. Like, screw all that. Just stretch yourself. Like the win, it's just the win for yourself to never better than anybody else, just better than I was yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I think that the worst part about this is when you know it and then you still see it happen. Like, exactly what's happening and you're like, here we go. All right, we're storming again, but it's amazing to see the stories that we create for ourselves and how just how real it is. Like when we hit that peak at the, we're forming and we have these great ideas. Here's this new great idea. Let's do this thing. And then we're like, well, yeah, right? Like it just seems so real. Like there's such a really good reason why we shouldn't, why we can't, why it's not gonna, all these things. And it's kind of amazing to witness. It's also amazing to witness then like intentionally not doing that. And then going there and be like, okay, I recognize these thoughts and these feelings and we're going to keep going anyway.
Yes.
Well, and I like how the it was talking about, you're first talking about, organizations and community and groups and things like that. And don't we see that like even in like spiritual communities, we see that we're like, oh, we're all gung ho, we're going to do this. And we have this vision and then, oh, wait, we've never done this before. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe let's just play it safe and just do how we've always done, And I think it is very interesting. Not only is there a call for us collectively individually to step, it is a call for us collectively. How can we partner with one another and help each other when we get to those moments where we're like, and I think that's the beauty of community too. In those moments, specifically those moments, those crucial decision moments.
Yeah, well, it mentally brings me to like the boardroom and all those conversations where we either don't recognize or we're not willing to out our own fears, and so they come across as like really good, like solid business decisions. That's too risky. We're gonna, or whatever, right? And it's like, oh wow, imagine if we could show up in like the corporate business meeting or the board meeting or wherever with the like a willingness amongst the group to be like, hey, so this idea is great, this is what I'm feeling and it's a little scary, let's work through that, or whatever it is. Like imagine what that conversation could be like, how different it would be.
Well, and I think that's the key. What you said is that we are not most of us, I won't say all, but are not conditioned to talk about our emotions, especially if they're ones that exhibit fear or uncertainty or those uncomfortable feelings. And so it is, I think a lot of this stuff that we talk about and a lot of this work is being comfortable with saying, hey, this is scary and I'm not sure exactly how it's going to turn out. And I really want to turn and run, but, and so it's like actually having those conversations, and that those conversations are those brave conversations. That's not a weakness or something that should be avoided, but instead that's what we lean into is those, those specific things that we talk about.
Yeah. It's amazing when we let creativity like actually lead us and guide us.
Indeed. As we continue talking about creativity, this week we're talking about the glass ceiling, the things that kind of, keep us at a certain level, that keep us where we don't want to be. We want to break through that glass ceiling. So I'm here this week to talk to you about an unknown secret power, your superpower that you may not be aware of, or you may be aware of it and you're just not using it enough. So what I'm talking about is that inner voice. Ernest Holmes taught that all of us, every single human being, has the capacity to be a mystic. That the voice of God, yes, the literal voice of God is within you, and that you can tap into it. One of my favorite books of all time that really turned me on to this whole spiritual way of being was the Conversations with God series by Neil Donald Walsh. And he starts off at the very beginning. He was, at a place in his life that it wasn't working very well, and he's writing on paper. He's writing a letter to God because he's mad. And why is my life so messed up? And then he received a response, and it was holding his pencil and guiding him, and it said, "Do you really want to know, or are you just venting?" And he wanted to know, and that prompted a whole series of books. And this is a gift from the divine that we all have. We have access to this infinite mind that can help guide us throughout life. But most people, one, aren't even aware of it. Two, if they are, we forget to use it more often. Now, when you start to tap into this, Neil Donald Walsh points out that the strongest way that God talks to us is through feelings, but also talks to us in other ways, through maybe messages that we receive in our world. Sometimes it's pictures. Sometimes it can come in words, but according to Neil Donald Walsh, words are the least reliable form of communication there is. One question that Neil Donald Walsh asked God is, how do I know that this isn't just my imagination? And the answer was profound. God said, why wouldn't I use your imagination? Why wouldn't I use all tools available to communicate with you? And then, Neil Donald Walsh asked how, why aren't you talking to everybody? And God responded by saying, I am. Just most people aren't listening. So how about you? Are you willing to listen? One other kind of tool that, if you want to flash back to the 90s, was the bracelets that people used to have, and it said WWJD. What would Jesus do? If you are a follower of Jesus, this works really well. If you're not, what is wisdom to you? What represents the way you want to be? Maybe it's WWLD. What would love do? What would my higher consciousness do? However you want to frame it. Just asking that question shifts your openness, your awareness to a higher perspective that's waiting to come through you. Anytime in life that you have a choice to make, maybe a difficult decision to make, anytime that you are wanting to create, say, art, for an example, anything that you want to create or do at your highest level, if you're not taking a moment to sit down, still yourself, quiet your mind, and just open up to that. Ask your higher self, ask that mystical force that we are all conduits for, that we're all part of, and see what comes through. It's amazing. To me, now I've been aware of this for well over 20 years, going back to when I first discovered the Conversations with God books. And even when I know it, I still find myself sometimes, struggling with to find a solution to a challenge or something. And then reminding myself, why didn't I sit down and open up to, higher wisdom? Because it's there. So it's amazing. Give it a shot. Just ask yourself, what would the higher self do, and see what shows up. And the more you do it, the more you tap into it, the more you learn how to recognize it and feel it for what it is. One last thing I want to add is, how do you know that it's the voice of God and it's not just your mind making stuff up that it thinks you want to hear? Well, again, Neil Donald Walsh's answer to that was, or God's answer really, was that, does it lead to joy? Does it lead to love? And that's love with that capital L that I talk about a lot. Or does it, demonstrate truth? We have a guidance system within us, and you'll know. The more you ask and open up, you'll know. Give it a shot. It's a powerful thing.
My mind is always saying things I wanted to hear.
Right? That's funny.
I like that. It's a good reminder. It's a good reminder that we already have the tool, and I think that, it shows up for different people different ways. I know when I am out of alignment, kind of how I see it when I'm trying to make decisions and when I'm trying to move into new ways. I can tell when I'm out of alignment because I feel a little, I don't know, like heavy on one side. I feel it in my body. And so my intuition comes a lot through like those physical sort of feelings. But it's a good reminder to ask that question.
Yeah,
what will your higher self do? No.
It also made me think about how easy it is to create or reason my way into thinking the voice is one thing or another based on, whatever my subconscious wants it to be, right? Like on this time it's, oh yeah, that's just my imagination, and this other time it's something, but really it's like what else could it be? I guess it kind of highlights the residual belief in the God out there somewhere. Like there is a mind somewhere separate from all of this that is making decisions, or that has information that it's trying to keep from us or bestow upon us or whatever. But in reality, that we struggle to understand what it really is because it's so much more than whatever we could think. But it certainly is not a mind out there somewhere separate from us. That's just recreating like the old God kind of thing. But knowing that it is this one and only mind that is everything everywhere, what else could the voices be? And whether they are the voices that are going to lead me to create more of the thing I don't want because I don't really get it yet. It's going to have me create more of the thing I don't want so that I better understand, oh, I still have beliefs that say I believe in this thing I don't want. Or then it's the voice that's going to have me, like I've learned, and now it's the voice that's having me create something new. And it's easy for me to fall back into that old, oh yeah, well this voice is from the thing out there, but this one's mine.
Or I'll ask myself leading questions. You don't really want to do that, do you? It was like this. But it's interesting when I do that, it's almost like, justifying, oh, well, I can't do that because this, and this.
Yeah.
And then that's just like, whoa, spotlight. Let's look at that. We talked about resistance last week.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the resistance? And it's something underneath. When I find myself doing that, kind of asking myself leading questions as an excuse not to step into the thing that I know I need to do.
Yeah. Talk about glass ceiling and staying in comfort.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting too, just when you're really like emotional about it, like really like stressing whatever it is decision that you need to make, how then your mind is like throwing all kinds of stuff, and that's when it's like, oh, okay, I need to like sush it out, and then like even get up and go do something else for a minute. Like impart that, like, hey, I'm going to listen to that higher self, but I know that right now I'm not in the perfect state to hear it. I'm going to go eat a bowl of ice cream, and then I'll come back and see what happens.
It's kind of interesting how easily we can like open that valve to like the collective unconscious and just like all of the thoughts.
I like that, eating a bowl of ice cream as a spiritual practice.
Yeah. Oh, I do that on a regular basis.
That is one I can get behind. Believe me.
That's funny. Oh, yeah. All right. That's me.
It is you.
It is me. All right. So thank you for being here with us and kind of jumping into this conversation and hopefully having fun with us. We are certainly not done yet, but we wanted to take this moment to let you know a little bit about Soul Evolution Collaborative and how you can get involved really in whatever way works best for you. The Soul Evolution Collaborative is an innovative spiritual collaborative dedicated to the intentional evolution and authenticity of the human soul. I love that. This is a safe place to belong and be seen. So here are a few ways that you can get involved. Tonight, Tuesdays, every Tuesday, we have Truth Be Told, and that's what this is, 7 p.m. Eastern, which is our inspirational message for the week and kind of kicks off our theme. Thursday is The Gathering at 7 p.m. Eastern, and this is a group experience where we take an even closer look at the topic for the week, how it shows up in our own personal lives, and the healing and transformative power of belonging and connection. Sundays, we have Strip Down Sunday at 12:30 Eastern, where we offer a streamlined approach to your Sunday experience through a mostly short and sweet approach to our weekly theme. Coming very, very soon, we will be launching Second Sunday Experience, which is where we all get to come together and celebrate. So stay tuned for more info on that. And to get more information about these events, to stay up to date on new offerings, get information on weekly gatherings, weekly inspirational emails, etc., you can visit our website, soulevolutioncollaborative.org, and sign up for emails and more. There's a whole lot of stuff there, so poke around, check it out. Now let's have a little more Truth Be Told.
I've been thinking a lot lately about precedent. Now, we live a good portion of our life on precedent. And so what I mean by this is that we have an experience with something, whether it's an object or a person or a situation, and that creates kind of a blueprint in our brain of how things normally go when we interact with that object or person or that circumstance. For instance, this morning, drinking coffee. I have a precedent in my mind that a cup is filled with liquid and I drink it. And I don't even think about it. I just pour the coffee in and I drink it without any thought of, I wonder if this cup will hold the coffee. I wonder if this handle will hold when I pick it up. I wonder, and it can go on and on. Now, I don't do that. I just instinctively, without even thinking, just do the action of the thing. And that seems kind of basic, but it's because my mind has associated cup, coffee, drink. And so a lot of our lives are built off of these things, and that's not a bad thing. Otherwise, we would be paralyzed by our brains trying to process all this information. And often we operate our external lives like this, whether it be a situation that's brought us fear in the past. And so when we see that situation again, we may interact with it in the same way. And so although precedent can be a good thing, it also can be a thing that limits us and keeps us playing small in our lives. And so living beyond the precedent begins to really tap into this idea of creativity, which we've been talking about this month. Understanding that just because something has always been so, just because we've always experienced this in a situation or shown up in this certain way or had this particular interaction with an individual, just because it's always been a certain way, doesn't mean that it can't be different. And so this idea of living beyond the precedent really stirs within us this ability to no longer just operate in default ways of thinking. We are invited to maybe step out of old frameworks, step out of old ways of doing things, step out of old ways of interacting, step out of old ways of seeing ourselves, step out of the limits that sometimes we place on ourselves based on fear of something that's happened in the past or anxiety about something that's going to happen in the future. And so this idea of living beyond the precedent really frees us in each and every moment to be the creative forces that we are. And it empowers us to really tap into this creativity that wells within us. It invites us to step into those things which stir passion in us, stir excitement in us, those things which call to us to expand our way of showing up, to expand our way of interacting with the world. And when we do this, we tap into that creative process that we know to be true in each and everything that we do. And so living beyond the precedent is more than just the creative process. It's this intentional understanding that just because we've created something yesterday doesn't mean that we can't create something new today. And it calls to us to step out in ways that we never thought possible. And that is living beyond the precedent.
It made me think a little bit about Dan, about what we were talking about the other day in text, that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It made me think of that. Like, how many people just get stuck there? Like, nope, can't teach an old, that's just how I am. That's just, how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Going off of precedent, that's how I've always been.
Well, and then it actually manifests that way. It's that mindset of, this is how I've always been, so this is how I am. And that's true, unless we begin to move in ways that are beyond that.
Right. But it brought up this somewhat horrifying thought in my mind, that the whole glass ceiling diagram thing that we did in the first segment tonight just repeats itself, so that even when we break through that glass ceiling, we continue growing. We just create a new comfort zone. We've expanded our comfort zone, and now we have a new one. Well, that then creates a new glass ceiling, and now we're operating under the next precedent, unless or until, like, there's that whole personal growth thing. It's not just personal growth for personal growth's sake. It's because we would become numb and static if we didn't, so maybe it's not horrifying. I mean, that's a good thing, but it's like, oh man.
And we talk about too, like, thinking outside the box, or doing ministry outside the box. But in doing that, we don't want to then create another box. So then create, like you said, create another sort of comfort zone.
Right.
So it is this kind of fluid sort of movement. It's not just, we've done it and okay, now we're here and yay, we achieved it. We met our destination. But it is like this constantly evolving sort of experience, this kind of spiral. I think Ernest said that this spiral of evolution. That the creative process, when you get to what you think is the finality of it, it is not the finality of it. It is only a new beginning. And so I think that, he understood that, and I think articulated that really well. But it's like, oh damn, now I've got to do it again and do it again. And so I think, but even looking at that diagram, I think, maybe there is an opportunity for us to shorten our time in some of those downward arrows that we saw.
Right. Well, and to not find ourselves starting over every single time, right? Just because we go up and talk ourselves out of it doesn't mean that idea is dead, right? Because I think that happens a lot too. It's like, oh, we just ditch that idea and start a new one. And so instead of just getting stuck in the cycle, we're restarting the cycle every time, And so to throw in the idea of not creating a new precedent, like, let's not create the new precedent of just starting over every time.
Right.
I heard it described as that it's like roller coaster. Life's a roller coaster. See if I can get it on my camera here. So you have your ups, and then you come back down for a little while, and then you go up. But if you start back over, then you're way back down here. But if you're going up and down, and then up and down and up, then up here, when you go the next down, like that low spot there is still higher than your high spot used to be back over there. That's the goal, because it's always going to happen. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's just that.
That's those squiggly lines in the graph, right? That's like that meme that's people think enlightenment is this path or it's a person at the bottom of a mountain with a thing at the top and a straight arrow, and then it's like what enlightenment really looks like, and it's just all over the place. Exactly.
And they're like way down.
Yeah, right.
It becomes just like this adventure, like it's new things around every corner sort of thing. And I think if we approach it with that space, that kind of adventurous spirit, then I think that we'll get on board with the process a little bit quicker than if we have to say, oh, it has to look like this, and it has to look like this, and all these little boxes we have to check. But I think if we can approach life and spiritual practice and relationships and all those things that we come in contact with that sort of energy, I think that we will be more easily able to push up against those comfort zones and stretch those.
Yeah. Which, helps when we understand what the process is, right? Like when we understand, oh, this is the pattern, this is the process, these are the laws of nature or whatever. It's a whole lot easier to like that. The Enlightenment meme actually is a really good example of this. We think it's about reaching this destination, but reaching that destination looks like this crazy mess. But it looks like a crazy mess to the person who thinks it's about the destination. Right. But when we realize it's not about the destination, then it's like, oh, well, that crazy all over the place journey is, like you just said, is this really cool adventure that we actually get to enjoy the whole adventure, because now we understand where the parameters are, what the container is that we're dealing with. Which, shameless plug for this teaching, I think is what we kind of have a leg up on, like the old idea of there's some God out in the clouds that's like placing judgment and stuff, and you don't know when the next shoe is going to drop, or you don't know when you're going to get judged, or right? We may not know when life is going to happen, but like the next shoe, I mean, that really is the glass ceiling model, right? Like we're waiting for the next shoe to drop. Well, we're waiting for that thing that's going to happen, that's always happened, because that's our pattern, to talk us out of why we can't have nice things. Well, the glass ceiling is why we can't have nice things, because we keep hitting that point, right? Anyway, so I think having the philosophy that defines a clear container of what it is you're dealing with gives a lot more weight to appreciating the journey itself, rather than, like, the goal is not heaven. We're not trying to die and get to some fancy place. Like, we're creating it here,
Well, and I think too, to understand that the glass ceiling is not some sort of energy that is imposed upon us, but it's actually we create that. And so I mean, and that we can, if we have the power to create that, which we know we do, then we have the power to create something different than that.
Amen.
And so
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like that we're fighting against something that is with out of the realm of our control, and it's being imposed upon us with some sort of evil force, but it is what we have created, and so that we do have that power. So that's kind of fun. I mean, that's kind of that's when you think of it that way, you're like, oh well, that's kind of cool. I'm super powerful at creating glass ceilings, so now I can be powerful at busting those glass ceilings. Yeah, the same energy. It's just focused in a different place.
Yeah, you can
build the elevator that shatters through it.
That's right. The Willy Wonka Vader, or whatever.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of that movie too.
Yeah.
All right, so as you can tell, we have absolutely the most amazing job ever. It's so much fun to explore these topics with you each and every week. It's our desire to not only share what we have learned, but to journey alongside each one of you as we navigate this adventure we call life. Our mission at Soul Evolution Collaborative is to bring forth the wisdom of ancient teachings and spiritual principle in a new and innovative way. If you would like to support this mission and its continued evolution, we invite you to go to soulevolutioncollaborative.org and click on the donate button. All donations are tax deductible and serve to support this evolving ministry in its vision of personal transformation and communal evolution. Thank you for joining us.